This is Rudkowski of WeAreChange.org, and with the news breaking about the young American who was just murdered in Yemen. The war on terror is a mess, but there's a man who's been warning us about this for years. Since the early 2000s, Gerald Celente of the Trends Journal has been warning about the war on terror. Now, Gerald Celente, he was on Oprah, he was on USA Today, he was on all the major American talk shows until he started warning people about the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq. And since then, he's been blacklisted. Gerald, this information, this whole war on terror is a huge mess. You were warning people about this very early on. Can you tell us about the warnings that you were giving and the effects that you had to go through because of these warnings that you were giving about the wars?
Well, I wrote the book Trends 2000 back in 1996. It was a national bestseller, Warner Books. And in that book, I was predicting the future. You're waking up in a new millennium and Crusades 2000 is raging. And then on December 14th, 2000, USA Today used to run our top trends of the year. And the headline read, 2001 won't be our year, Trends here says. And I was warning that American foreign policy was causing a lot of hatred around the world. And that it was a new crusade. Now hold it. How many are they killing in Iraq? They say an estimated million. How many in Afghanistan?
Tens of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands. So you think people want payback? If you were an Iraqi, your family's destroyed, your country is destroyed, you have no future, they've thrown you in jail, they've tortured you, you think you'd want to get even? No, let's call it terrorism and ISIS. America has no business being in another country. They turned off the electricity, failed in Detroit. The infrastructure's rotting. And we're fighting overseas?
It makes no sense at all. You were telling people that this is going to be a huge mess, and then they automatically stopped having you on those major shows.
I used to be on the Today Show, Good Morning America, Oprah. I was on with O'Reilly, you name them.
You were on there religiously every year because of your trends.
Yeah. And they used to run all of them. But when I said what would happen in Afghanistan and Iraq, no one wanted to believe it. They rather believe little boy Bush. They rather believe bullshit Obama. They rather believe little Lindsey Graham. They'd rather believe John Insane McCain. They'd rather suck up to Pelosi. They'd rather bow down to Reid. They'd rather kiss the feet of Ryan, suck up to Cruz. One after another, the people in this country have lost their courage. They look up to stooges, to lowlifes, to psychopaths, to madmen and mad women.
And the situation right now in Yemen, in Syria, is insane. CIA-trained rebels are fighting with Al-Qaeda. Meanwhile, we're supposed to have a war with Al-Qaeda. But knowing everything you know, following the trends for years and predicting them to be true for many years, where do you see this current war on terror in Yemen, in Syria, even other conflicts like Ukraine? How do you see this war on terror developing in the future?
It's not a war on terror. It's a war against the American people to rob us of our rights. War on terror. Suppose you had the Iraqis invading Long Island. You think he'd fight back? What would they call you, an insurgent or a militant?
Yeah, that's very true.
Suppose you lived in New York City and they wanted to overthrow de Blasio because somebody in Yemen didn't like him, and you were fighting for de Blasio. Would you be a militant? We have no business being in these countries. I'm going to make this clear for anybody that could think and count past 3. America hasn't won a war since World War II. They lost Korea. They lost Vietnam. And I hear the bullshit, too. Oh, if we only could have killed more people in Vietnam, we only bombed Agent Orange them to death and killed 3 million. If we would have stayed there longer and killed more, we would have won. Forget about it, Junior. You lost Iraq. You lost Afghanistan. You destroyed Libya. You're going to lose in Syria. There is no war on terror. It's what Eisenhower warned us. It's the war against the American people. It's the military-industrial complex. Period, paragraph. And Eisenhower, unlike these other little boys, unlike the little Bushes, unlike the little Clintons, unlike the little Obamas, this is a man that was a general. He saw what death was, and he wanted no more of it. America had no major wars under Eisenhower. It's only these little freaks that send other people to go die for them.
And now the situation's getting worse. There's a lot of manipulation, there's a lot of propaganda, there's a lot of censorship when it comes to actually showing people exactly what's happening. But you had the bravery to show everybody what was happening in the early 2000s. But you're also working on Occupy Peace. Can you tell us more about Occupy Peace and what do you hope to achieve of it? I know it's still starting up, but we're very interested in what you're planning on doing.
OccupyPeace.us is the website. I'm here in Colonial Kingston, New York, the most historic corners in the United States. 90% of the Constitution of this country was written in the courthouse that they copied from the New York State Constitution, the first capital of New York State. A real man, a real commander-in-chief, Washington, who led the troops. Not like these little guys that play basketball and golf and drive pickup trucks that call themselves commanders-in-chief. This is a warrior. His farewell address, no foreign entanglements. Franklin, no foreign entanglements. Jefferson, no foreign entanglements. Madison, Adams, no foreign entanglements. The world was at war back then, too. So when people come out with this little psycho trip of theirs that, oh, things are different now, no, they're not. Worlds have been at war forever. But the Founding Fathers were smarter than the little boys and little girls that we got running the show now. They were scholars. They were real people of morality and integrity. So Occupy Peace is to honor thy Founding Fathers. No foreign entanglements. Bring home the troops. Close the bases overseas. And rebuild America. Rebuild America. Instead of squandering the money for the military-industrial complex, bring it back home, fix the roads, fix the infrastructure. Our infrastructure is third world. Anybody that's been around knows what it looks like here compared to anybody else. You fly into JFK after coming from other places around the world, it's a disgrace. As soon as you get on the Van Wyck Expressway, garbage in a shitty train.
Trust me. I know, living in New York City in the situation that we're living at, and especially other cities like in Detroit, we're being looted, and the war on terror really is a war against the people.
It's a war against the people. It's a war to rob us of our rights. How many more rights do you have to get stolen from you? Oh, you don't like your Fourth Amendment rights? Not happy with your First Amendment rights? Lost your Second Amendment rights? You have no rights. I'm the commander-in-chief. I'll tell you what to do. Occupy Peace is to change the course of the United States, bring it back to the Founding Fathers, the Constitution, restore the Declaration of Independence. And this is going to be a rally. It's not going to be about yelling and screaming and cheering. It's about a plan, an action plan for peace. I would rather fight for peace than die for war. And that's what Occupy Peace is.
Very well said. It's very important to act instead of just reacting. I'm very happy to see what you're doing. The link will be in the description below. I look to participate and help you out in any which way I can with Occupy Peace. It sounds like a very interesting endeavor. Now, David, you have been making many predictions about World War III, and a lot of things you've been saying throughout the years have slowly been coming together. Right now, with the situation in ISIS, how do you break it down? What's your understanding of it? All the problems, because we know the bankers are looting, we know the government is lying to us. Is there a solution? Is there an answer to all these problems?
Sure, there are a lot of answers. Number one is you have to break up the